Hey everybody, it's Tom and T from Show Me Coasters, and in today's video we're going to be discussing what could replace Wicked Twister at Cedar Point.
While we were there at Cedar Point last week, Cedar Point let off a big bomb and announced that they were going to remove Wicked Twister. For me, that I heard rumors. I heard other YouTubers been saying Wicked Twister can be removed and possibly shipped to other parks such as California, Great America. But it is official, folks. So before we go on with our predictions of what coaster could come, we like to address the issue. We have watched other YouTubers' video, and they seem to get stuck on how much land Wicked Twister sits on. The footprint is about 462 feet, but this is Cedar Point's after all. They could do anything they want to do. So we measure the land. The only thing that is sacred is the station for gatekeeper and the hotel breaker. So it was about 2,600 feet or 220,000
square
feet. Yeah. So a 4,000 or 5,000 feet coaster would easily fit in here. Those other rides that situate here can be relocated somewhere else. They said that Wicked Twister is going to be removed, but they didn't say the other part can't be relocated somewhere else.
So we're going to approach this in two different prongs: the cheaper investments or short-term investments, and others that would be more expensive and more long-term, longer lasting.
So the short-term investment or the cheaper coasters that could possibly come to Cedar Point, we have picked a few. The first one is the Gerstlauer Eurofighter or Infinity Coaster. The S&S Axis is a good candidate, and the premier shuttle coasters such as Icebreaker and Pantheon are good candidates. The Skyrocket 2, I don't think that's gonna go, but Tom picked that. And don't sneeze at the Vekoma Shockwave, such as Abyssus at Energylandia. Also, there's also the possibility of an unknown. Cedar Point is known for introducing new rides and new technology to the industry all the time. So the next category we're going to go to is the more expensive or long-term investment, which would be the big coaster that cost $30-40 million. We had a few. It's been, the talk, the roller coaster community has been going around forever. But which park could possibly get the T-Rex? For me, if any park that's going to receive a T-Rex, it's Cedar Point. What's your pick on the more expensive investment?
Yeah, I kind of see that, but I kind of also like the Mack Ultimate or the extreme spinning coaster,
such as Time Traveler,
and Ride to Happiness.
Also, their Mack has been experimenting with like a combination, like a regular Giga and a Hyper, but the last row is spinning. Also, don't forget, again, it is Cedar Point. They have also been introducing new technology. The first 300, the first 400. So an unknown is a likely candidate, more than likely, to be added to Cedar Point.
So the next area that we want to take a look at is the advantages and disadvantages of going with one of those short-term or cheaper investments versus the long-term investments.
Or more
expensive investments. So, I mean, if you look at it, the short-term investment, those coasters generally tend to become, kind of like empty spaces in your park.
Obsolete in 6-7 years.
Yeah.
They're usually one-trick ponies, such as Wicked Twister. For my pick would be something like an Axis. People could get bored with it real quickly. But the advantages of the long-term investment is that yes, it hits your pocketbook, heavily in the beginning, but it will be a staple in your park for a long time.
And it's going to be a draw.
Yeah.
It's going to be a draw for the public, especially coaster enthusiasts. I mean, if you look at it, let's say they went with a Mack extreme spinning coaster like Time Traveler. Time Traveler gets people coming from all over the world to come ride that coaster because it's such a unique ride.
So going off on a tangent, sometimes I think parks do leave an area for a short-term investment just to experiment with new technology that's coming out in the future. So they can remove rides and install new technology and introduce it to the public.
No, I agree. I think we see this happen all the time. Six Flags Fiesta Texas does this a lot. They'll remove something and they'll put in a new kind of coaster.
Or Discovery, just to see if the popularity with the public. Then they install to the whole chain. So yeah, we're gonna move on to the topic of our picks here, just to close out the video. So my pick for a short-term investment would be like an Axis, something. It is Cedar Point. No one has installed this yet. Or I also like the Vekoma Shockwave, like Abyssus. That's more of a long term, but it's cheap. The long term investment would be like a T-Rex or a Mack hybrid, like a Giga or a Hyper. The last roll spinning. If they can make the last roll spinning, I don't see why they can't make the rest of the roll spin. That is my pick on for the long term.
Yeah, for me, for the short term or the cheaper investments, I could really see an Axis, just because, like you said, there's not been any installed yet, and the technology has been tested and proved at SNS's
Utah,
headquarters. I do like the Vekoma Shockwave. I kind of agree with you on both of these. I like the Vekoma Shockwave. Vekoma has really upped their game in the last few years, and whenever they installed Abyssus at Energylandia,
it's not expensive.
That thing is beautiful, and yeah, it's cheap. It's $12 million
at 4,000 feet. That's unusual, because I guess their name in the past synonymous with all the boomerangs and make their products cheaper.
And for my long-term pick, and for the more expensive pick, I'm going to go with the Mack Extreme Spinning Coaster, like Time Traveler. I just think that would be a really good draw. Even though it's another launch coaster and it's kind of similar
it's different
to Maverick, it's different because it has the inversions.
But you remember, Cedar Point doesn't, I don't want to shoot it down. Cedar Point does not want the copy of the parks, but sometimes they do. But you're sticking with your point?
Yeah, I think the Mack Extreme Spinning Coaster is a good choice.
A taller version, maybe?
Yeah, maybe a taller version. Generally they don't go with a lot of models that are copied, but King's Dominion just announced their new coaster for 2022, and it's a SNS 40 free spin.
So what's your thought of a possibility of like a regular Hyper and Mega, but all the two-seater that it's spinning?
It would be cool to see.
That's like Millennium Force on steroids.
Yeah,
oh my god, that would be.
I know Mack makes one also that it's all the seats are facing, but the whole car turns.
Yeah.
On the train. But they could do that with the Mack also.
Yeah, the technology's there. If they can do the last one, they can do the whole. So, sorry, we're going on a tangent. This is T.
This is Tom.
I hope you enjoy our conversation, and have a good night, folks.
Have a good night.
Thank you.